Did I mess up? My wife's mad at me over hot dogs. Submitted by Slovakia. So my wife and I had this big fight, and she's sleeping in a hotel with my toddler tonight, and the house is empty, and I'm a little drunk, and I want to be better than my dad, I want to know if what I did was out of line. Obviously, I don't think I am, but I'm drunk, and I'm on my own side here, so, am in the wrong here? I'm an employee of a famous hot dog brand. The jingle and the dancing wiener with the wink at the end? That one. With the COVID-19 crisis, work has been really slammed. So many of the guys have been out with the virus, or they're having to stay home with their kids or whatever. We've been getting all this odd, and that was great for a little bit, but after 3 months of 12 and 16-hour days, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes without a break, it wears you down. I've never been so tired in my life. I was at work, and my wife was blowing up my phone. It was our kid's birthday party, and she was wearing me out over the hot dogs. I live with him all day at work, and she wanted me to get some from the company store for the birthday party, and since I had been too tired, I had forgotten earlier in the week. I'm only human, She's making sure I'm going to get them. I get it. She's nervous, she wants to make sure we can feed all of our guests and their kids and all that, I get it. I do. But I was at work, I was exhausted, and she'd been after me about these hot dogs all week. I'd been on shift since 4 a.m., and it was near the end. I was on the mixers that day, adding seasonings to the ground-up meat mixture and monitoring the water/corn syrup mix. The mixers are these really powerful screw-kinda-looking things that stir a couple 100 pounds of densely packed chicken, cow, and pig trimmings. You add water and some corn syrup, too, until it's a thick paste. I was adding corn syrup when the alarms blared. Something had set off the quality control shutdown. My mixer wound to a halt, the water shutting off. I was glad, honestly. And we were close to quitting time. I'd been dumping starch and bags of salt and seasonings into a pair of whirring grinding blades all day. I pulled off my PPE and ran a hand through my sweaty hair. It was stupid long. I hadn't been to the barber in forever. The alarm was still pulsing off on and on. I looked around for the first time in, I don't remember. I had been at work so much I felt like I was a robot. Just a part of the machinery. I don't know why they hadn't automated my part of the process yet. I was looking around for Benji. He was an old fella, almost retirement age. He was one of the few other people who needed the money or didn't have anyone to worry about or whatever, so he was still at work, despite all the corona bullshit. I didn't see him at his station. He probably went to go see what was going on with the QC alarm, too. I walked through the plant, following the pipes and alarm sound, until I got to the other side of the emulsifier. The mix looked off, that I could tell right away. It smelled a little weird, too. Fresher, almost. The mix, usually a pale, silly putty peach color, was warmer, redder. I saw my supervisor on the line, standing next to the machine that filled the skins with the emulsified mixture. His name was Jay. "What's up?" I asked. "You seeing this shit?" he said, waving his hand at the mix. "Yeah, looks weird," I said. He looked at me like I was crazy, or sick, or something. "It looks like long pork hot dogs is what it looks like. You seen Benji?" Something about Jay's tone got me on edge. "Why? What's up?" Jay shook his head. "He fell into his goddamn mixer is what? You're looking at people dog mix." My stomach turned over, but some wild, asshole part of my brain was so glad that it happened. It meant a shutdown, at least a week, maybe longer. Shit, they might close the plant because of the crisis and furlough me. And then I was overwhelmed with exhaustion, and a kind of vague guilt. I didn't really know Benji. I felt bad that I hadn't spoken to him much. And, was him falling in my fault? I didn't look up from my mixer. I never checked on him. But shit, we never did that. That's someone else's job. Fuck. Yeah. Fuck. Did he? I dunno, fall asleep? Jay looked at me again. I should be fucking asking you that. Go home. You're done for today. Shit, we all are, said Jay. His work radio crackled, and he answered. I didn't hear what the other person on the radio said. Go home. Shit. The hot dogs. The oven where the hot dogs are smoked and moved down the line to packaging paralleled to the route I took to get out of the building. It was hard not to look at the dangling meats and wonder which part had Benji's teeth, which part was tongue. Could you open one up and find a finger from his glove? My phone buzzed in my pocket. I looked. Did you get the hot dogs? I lost it. It was too much. I've been working for fucking forever, and a coworker just got chewed up and turned into fucking frankfurters. I got down to packaging. A friend of mine, Zach, was working in packaging. He was cutting dogs off the hangers, and throwing them into a garbage can marked with a biohazard sign. "You gotta clean the whole line off?" "Yeah," said Zach. "Fucking sucks, but double time, I guess it's worth it." I looked at the packaged hot dogs. "You know if these are any good?" Zach looked at me from the side while he got the dogs down. "You serious? They're just going to toss it all out. Even if they don't have anything wrong with them," I said. "I need a case. For a party." Zach kept his eyes on the dangling hot dogs. "Do whatever, man, it's all just shit this year anyway." I walked to the end of the line and got a case worth of packaged hot dogs. They didn't look like they had that off color the dogs up the line had. I was ready to go home. I cooked them up, and they didn't smell off. They didn't taste any different. My heart was in my throat the whole cookout, but no one screamed and pulled a fingernail out of their hot dog or anything. It was probably fine. Right? My wife found out when my friend's wife called over to talk about furlough and meal planning. So, that's when she started screaming at me like a crazy person and took our kid and left. There's the story. I think she overreacted. Alexa, stop playing. Submitted by Rhetorical Cow. It was the usual Saturday night, the nerds' night in. My friend Kostabe and I were sipping our sodas, taking bites off fried chicken and ripping each other's guts out in Mortal Kombat. My phone beeped abruptly, and I realized it was out of charge. Too lazy to get off, I passed my phone to Kostabe, who was closer to the extension board near my bed, and asked him to put it to charge. He paused the game, cursed me for making him move before abruptly scampering for the charging cable and getting back to the game. Before long, it was well past midnight, and Kostabe exclaimed, "Man, it's late. I should head back, I gotta go to the skate park tomorrow." The Uber arrived after our next round of gruesome MK Gorefest, as I stomped Kung Lao's teeth to the curb in a fatality. Okay, none of which really happened. I lost like always, and I headed down to see him off. I came back to my room and voiced out, "Alexa, set an alarm for 11 a.m. The voice reverted, setting alarm for Sunday, 11 a.m. I switched off the lights and tried to go to sleep, although that wasn't of much use. My sleep had been messed up over the last few weeks, and I was as awake as an owl on Adderall. After 2 hours, I decided that it would be a good idea to probably read something to lure me into sleep. I signaled Alexa, "Alexa, switch on the lights." I watched the lights come on, as I grabbed a copy of Atlas Shrugged from my bookshelf, the book I pretended to read on at least 3 different flights without success, and started turning to the page where I last left off. I thought a little bit of music would help. "Alexa, play soft music," I said. "Sure." Playing Enter Sandman by Metallica. This is Amazon AI's idea of soft music? I imagined. But what played wasn't exactly Enter Sandman as I remembered it. It was a cover of some sort. This wasn't uncommon. Sometimes songs are picked up off indie artists who have covered popular tracks. The lyrics rolled off one line after the next, but there seemed to be no music. "Tuck you in, warm within, keep you free from sin. Till the Sandman, he comes, sleeps with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight." I expected the music to cue after the first verse, but no. What followed was just still the singing, with no music. "Alexa, stop playing," I said. Nothing happened. The song kept on playing in the same voice. "Alexa, stop playing," I said again. Again, no luck. I walked over to my bedside table where the Echo device was and tried to switch it off when I realized the device was not plugged in. My phone was plugged in instead to the Echo cable and was charging. And the song wasn't being played out on the Echo. The song was coming from under my bed. I froze in fear as I heard the voice of the song change to the computerized female monotone of a digital assistant as it said, "Hush little baby, don't say a word, and never mind that noise you heard. It's just the beasts under your bed, in your closet, in your head. Alexa will switch off the lights now." And I heard 3 clicks on my room's switchboard as my room went dark. Traditions must be kept. Submitted by that random weirdo. I'm just in 23 mil, and because of my town's stupid tradition, I lost my best friend, Kevin. Before I can tell you what happened, I should give you insight on our town and our so-called tradition. Our town has always been, how should I put it, very middle-aged, and it always had this haunted feeling to it. Ever since I moved in with my mother, I've always felt excluded, as if we weren't the same kind, except for Kevin. He always seemed to understand me, like as if we were the only people in our right minds. Our town also doesn't have any internet or online connections whatsoever, so I'm writing this at a library in New York, since I've long left that dump. Anyway, our town has this old rusty mansion at the top of a hill, where the Willoughby sisters live. There are rumors that there's 7 of them and they were raised by a single father, yet somehow the sisters had turned into evil demonic witches and scared the father off. Nobody except for great-great-great Grumps knows about it, and he can't tell us about it in detail since he suffers from memory loss. Great G. Grumps used to be the best friend of the single father, until he left the town and committed suicide. Many think the reason for him committing suicide was because of the Willoughbys. Nobody knows the reason the sisters turned evil, but even Grumps remembers the horrid look on his best pal's friend. He described it as if someone sucked out all the life in you and replaced it with constant horrid fear. He also mentioned that he looked as if he'd aged 15 years. After that, some idiot wanted to free our town from the witches and the witches must burn, so he decided to make a tradition, on the 22nd of November, where every man in town had to race uphill to the Willoughby's mansion and knock on the door and slaughter the witches. If a man succeeded, they'd earn riches and pride. It's been about 55 years since that tradition has started, and the man that goes in never comes out. I guess you could say the men in our town are airheaded and are overly confident that they think they'll be the one to slaughter the Willoughbys, so we keep on doing it every year. Of course, I walk as slowly as possible, just watching who will die this time since I know there's no defeating them. It's like I can sense the black magic and the horror that goes on in that house. I don't understand why the others don't feel it, maybe because I was not born here, but the rest don't know, but I know for a fact that they seem brainwashed in some way, like someone had morphed their common sense into non-existence and replaced it with too much confidence and ego. After a while, during the beginning of November, Kevin started to change. At first, it was unnoticed, almost only little, like he stopped responding as much as he used to, and that grew and grew until he began to get mad at me whenever I mentioned the Willoughbys or the 22nd of November, and he got mad at me when I was trying to find a plan to stop people from racing uphill, which really confused me since he had never been like this and had all intention on helping me find a way to stop the people from going into the Willoughbys' home. Of course, this confused me a lot. Why would Kevin want to just ditch the plan we've been trying to come up with for months? He was so determined to end this cursed tradition. It was like he had turned to everyone else in this goddamn town. At that point, I realized that our town was truly cursed, that there might be more to the Willoughby sisters than anyone ever thought. But who could I tell my theory to? Kevin was now brainwashed like the rest of the town, and nobody outside of town would. Believe me, I was only 17 at the time, and as a stupid teenager I was pissed at Kevin and thought to myself that I didn't even need him and that he could go race uphill like the rest of the idiots in our town. Kevin leaving the team really demotivated me and caused me to not want to continue my project, so I just waited till the 22nd of November and was ready to say goodbye to another man in our town, till I realized I was being stupid, that I was being foolish, and that I had to stop Kevin. I had to at least save him. He was very strong and physically powerful, so he'd outrun the rest, but he still wouldn't be able to kill the Willoughbys. But most importantly, he was my best friend, and I still cared about him. Yet my thinking process had been too slow, and I froze when I heard the big clock strike 0 o'clock. Everyone started running, mothers kissing their children and husbands goodbye. In the wind and dust, I spotted Kevin, like I had imagined. He was running faster than ever, and he was in the lead. Sadly, I wasn't as physically fit as him, and all I could do was run after him with my twig legs and scream, beg for him to turn around. I screamed like I had never before, but he only turned once to me, when he had reached the door. He had his hand on the handle, with nothing but a shirt and some pants and a shovel in his hand. We had used that shovel to dig valuable stuff that we'd sworn to dig back up once we were old. Tears were falling from his reddish, bluish face. He was being controlled. Like the rest. Someone was making them act like this, to make them come in. He looked at me and it was as if he was trying to help himself, as if he was pleading for help and mercy. He only looked at me for about 2 seconds, but I had already seen that he didn't want to do this. He turned back, opened the door, and slowly went in.